On July 26, 1974, in the quiet seaside town of Provincetown, Massachusetts, a young girl walking her dog through the sand dunes stumbled upon something that would haunt investigators for nearly half a century. There, lying face down on a beach towel, was the badly decomposed body of a woman. The discovery shocked the community, and the brutality of the crime left police deeply unsettled. This was no accident, and it was no ordinary murder. The woman's hands had been cut off. Her skull had been crushed by a heavy blow, and her body had been arranged in a way that suggested her killer had taken deliberate steps to hide her identity. For nearly 50 years, she would be remembered only by the chilling nickname given to her that day, the Lady of the Dunes. The crime scene offered investigators very little to work with. The woman appeared to be in her late 20s or early 30s. She had long auburn hair and had received expensive dental work, the kind of care that suggested she came from money or at least from someone who valued her appearance. Yet despite these clues, there were no signs pointing to who she was. The missing hands made it impossible to take fingerprints, and her face was so badly beaten that recognition was impossible. Near her body were a pair of Wrangler jeans and a blue bandana, but neither offered any real lead. Provincetown, a peaceful tourist destination in the summer, had suddenly become the scene of a gruesome murder that nobody could explain. As word spread, rumors began to swirl. Who was she? Why had she been killed with such cruelty? Some speculated that she was connected to organized crime, her mutilation a sign that someone wanted to make sure she could never be traced. Others wondered if she was a traveler or drifter, passing through town and meeting a violent end at the hands of a stranger. One of the more bizarre theories came from a connection to Hollywood. At the time of her death, the film Jaws was being shot just a short distance away in Martha's Vineyard. Some believe that the Lady of the Dunes had been spotted as an extra in one of the movie's crowd scenes. Could she have been an aspiring actress whose dream led her into danger? The theory was never proven, but added an eerie layer of mystery to her story. The investigation stretched on for years. Detectives followed every possible lead, but each one eventually went cold. By the 1980s and 1990s, forensic experts attempted to reconstruct her face multiple times using clay models built on her skull. Each new model was shown to the public in hopes that someone would recognize her, but nobody ever came forward. Despite countless efforts, she remained a nameless victim, a ghost of the dunes, with nothing but speculation surrounding her. The case might have stayed that way forever, if not for the rapid advancement of forensic science. By the 2000s, DNA technology was being used to solve cold cases, and investigators returned to the Lady of the Dunes with new hope. They managed to extract DNA from her remains and began comparing it against databases. For years, there were no matches, but in the 2010s, the use of genetic genealogy began changing everything. This technique, which relies on connecting DNA samples to family trees built through public ancestry websites, had already solved several notorious cases, including the capture of the Golden State Killer. It was only a matter of time before it was applied to the Lady of the Dunes. Finally, in October 2022, nearly 5 decades after her discovery, the FBI made a stunning announcement. The Lady of the Dunes had been identified. Her name was Ruth Marie Terry. She was 37 years old at the time of her death, and originally from Tennessee. Ruth's identification shocked those who had followed the case for years. After so long being known only as a faceless victim, she now had her name, her story, and her dignity restored. But as soon as Ruth's name was revealed, darker details began to surface. Just before her death in 1974, Ruth had married a man named Guy Rockwell Moldavin. On the surface, Moldavin seemed charming, even sophisticated. But in reality, he was a deeply troubled man with a dangerous history. Years earlier, he had been suspected in the disappearance of another woman and her daughter. Though no charges were ever brought against him, his name had been linked to violence and suspicion before. Investigators now believe that Ruth's marriage to him ended violently, and within weeks of their union, she was dead. The brutality of her murder fit a pattern, cutting off her hands, beating her so viciously, leaving her in a secluded place. It carried the hallmarks of someone who knew exactly what they were doing and wanted to erase her existence. The FBI and Massachusetts State Police soon declared Guy Moldavin the prime suspect in Ruth's murder. Yet the case carried a bitter twist. Moldavin lived for decades after Ruth's death, eventually dying in 2002. He was never charged, never stood trial, and never faced justice for what investigators believe he did. The truth had come too late, and Ruth's killer had slipped away from accountability. Even though the case is officially closed, unanswered questions remain. Did Moldavin act alone? Could he have been responsible for other unsolved murders, given his violent history? And what exactly happened in the final moments of Ruth's life? The Dunes may hold those secrets forever. For nearly 50 years, she was a faceless victim, reduced to a nickname. Today, we know her as Ruth Marie Terry, a woman who lived, who dreamed, and who trusted the wrong person. The Lady of the Dunes is nameless no more, but her story remains one of tragedy, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of truth. It is a chilling reminder that no matter how much time passes, the dead can still speak. And sometimes the answers come when we least expect them. Please subscribe for more true crime stories.